Hi, this is Greg. Look for my book, The Agile Brand, on Amazon or on my website at theagile.world. Welcome back to the Agile World podcast. This is Greg Kihlstrom. In the last few episodes, I've been talking about how to create an Agile brand. I started with understanding that change is the only constant. Then I talked about identifying when evolutionary versus revolutionary processes are needed. In the last episode, I talked about making adaptivity and collaboration part of your culture and how really this anticipation of change and embrace of change really needs to start from within. In this episode, I'm going to talk about how brands need to focus not so much on channels and mediums and tactics, but more on customer experience and a holistic experience. As I mentioned earlier in an earlier episode, consumers aren't really paying so much attention to which channels they want to access or interact with a brand on. They don't really consciously think that they're going to use their laptop computer to send an email or instead of their smartphone, or they may be on Twitter and so they interact with a brand there because they happen to be already on Twitter. This idea of the device-agnostic consumer means that brands really need to be everywhere that their customers are. The requirement, though, is they also need to be monitoring those channels and really understand the needs and the different ways to best use those mediums. But I think it extends even beyond that. It's not just digital either. It's a holistic experience, and I think little things can make a huge difference. For instance, Chick-fil-A, the fast food chain, does something and has done something pretty interesting that has set themselves apart from their competitors. It's such a simple thing, and it's so tied into a customer experience that it's surprising that their competitors didn't think of it first. They've really placed a priority on having their employees say please, say thank you, and say my pleasure instead of you're welcome. 3 little things. It seems kind of silly. It seems kind of trivial, but little things like this make a big difference. It sticks in people's minds when they're choosing where to go, when they're done with an experience somewhere at a fast food restaurant, no less. You don't necessarily expect to have great service. You don't really expect to have a great experience, but when you are treated kindly, when you are treated with respect, it matters. You remember it. And the numbers show. I was looking at some statistics the other day. In 2015, Chick-fil-A generated more revenue than any other fast food chain. They generated about $4 million per location. This compares with KFC, for instance, that sold about 1 million. So about 4 times the amount per store. That's such a big difference. And surely that's not solely because of 3 words, please, thank you, and my pleasure. But it makes a difference. Experience makes such a difference to where you choose. Sometimes it may be subconscious. Sometimes it may be conscious. Surely they have to have good food. Surely they have to have a good price point, all of those other things. But in a world where there's so many options, there's so much choice, where restaurants are right next to each other, right, practically on top of each other. Are you going to choose the one where someone is nice to you, or someone says thank you, or are you going to go to the one where you might or might not be treated rude? I think that makes a huge difference in a world where there is so much choice. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about how brands need to listen to, not just talk at, their customers. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please rate the show on iTunes or contact me through my website at theagile.world. You can find my books, The Agile Brand and The Agile Web, on Amazon and on my website at theagile.world.